Brilliant. Welcome everybody to this panel at the Women Future Conference. We're talking today about building a bold brand identity for your business in a post-COVID world. And we have some extraordinary brand leaders here to share their insight and their action steps with us. I'll just introduce our panel today. We have the fabulous Laurel Mintz, who is the CEO and founder of Elevate My Brand, an award-winning LA-based digital and experiential agency. Hello, Laurel.
Thank you for having me.
And we also have Tonya McKenzie, PR and leadership consultant and founder of Sand & Shore's Public Relations and Marketing Company. Hello, Tonya.
Hi, thrilled to be here with you ladies.
And Julie Cortes, who's the Freelance Rockstar, award-winning copywriter and founder of the Freelance Exchange and Freelance Business Coach. Nice to see you, Julie.
Thanks for having me.
And last on our panel, the fabulous Danielle Sabrina, celebrity publicist, Entrepreneur Magazine's mentor, and founder of Tribe Builder Media.
Hi, thank you.
Awesome. So that was just a sound check to make sure that everybody's audio is working, which is fantastic. But we're going to talk today about what it means to build a bold brand. Why even be bold? In the 1970s, our brains were hit with around 500 branded messages a day, but today it's closer to 5,000. It's an overwhelming world, especially right now when the only one sure thing is change. And your brand has to stand out to be seen and to be noticed. But what does it really mean to build a bold brand identity? Do we need to go back to shouting from the street corners? Should we all be posting podcasts? Are we all simply just trying too hard to be Insta-famous? Is it all about the hustle? So how do you create a brand identity for ourselves and for our businesses that captivates and resonates when there is so much going on and the human attention span today is shorter than a goldfish? I believe that great brands should stand out for what they stand up for. They have purpose and they have meaning, the reason for being behind the brand. They're born of passion and they're built on mission and vision. In a world where everyone can actually have their 15 minutes of fame, what does it take to be more than just bold? To build a brand that stands the test of time and maintains your business throughout all of the challenges that life throws at us. Do you know what your brand stands for? What makes your brand brave and fearless in the face of adversity? What impact do you want to leave? And what legacy do you want to have? And what are you prepared to do in the pursuit of building your brand identity? Given that we are all so time poor, where is the best place to invest our time, our effort, and our money? This panel of branding experts, quite frankly, blows me away with their expertise and their dedication to answering this question on why you should build a brand. They are at the forefront of brand creation and development. They're leaders in the branding arena, and they're here to share their insights and action steps with you to help you navigate your way through the brand building minefield, so you can make bold decisions to build your brand, to showcase you, to showcase your business, and to stand out and be bold. My first question today is for Danielle Sabrina, celebrity publicist, Entrepreneur Magazine's mentor and founder of the Tribe Builder Media. Danielle, what are the most important things to consider when building your brand in this climate?
Well, thank you for that. Well, I think some of the things that you touched on, when someone goes to build a brand or relaunch an existing brand, I mean, I know we've done it ourselves a few times, it's really easy to get caught up in all of the noise that's out there and start kind of branding for other people, branding for what, you know, like a design might look really beautiful if we're talking about the aesthetics of it, but it might not be like true to who you are. And it might not be your, like a reflection of who you are as a founder. Really, I think is super important to think about that and pause and forget about the product, the service, whatever it is for a moment, and really focus on who you are and what you stand for and build from that. And make sure to, you know, check yourself and say, you know, am I inclusive? Am I offering opportunities? Am I, you know, are my price points like, you know, where do they fall? And are they so unreachable that, you know, startup or minority owned businesses or female owned businesses that maybe don't have always that advantage, like if it's not accessible to them, you know, are you able to offer a program or grants, scholarships? I think those really being true to yourself and who your brand is, and then building from there. And then worry about the color, the logos, what channels you're going to communicate on. But it's going to be so hard to maintain momentum if like the core of who you are isn't like your brand, because it just you become so detached from it, and it doesn't, the excitement only lasts so long after launch. You know, it's only so exciting. Like when you get into Forbes and it's like, yay, but then it's like, okay, then what? So I think right now we have an interesting time where we can really, you know, take inventory of ourselves and realign where we need to, and make sure those elements are there before we even start trying to build a new brand or continuing to build the brand that you have. I think you'll get better results from that too.
Yeah, I love it. It's such an important thing, isn't it, to have that essence of who you are coming through your brand. Now,
You
often
really are though. I just had to add this, is like not who other people want you to be, but like who you really are, and stay true to those beliefs, because your people will find you and they'll resonate with your beliefs. So whatever they are, whether they're just, you know, everyday beliefs, spiritual beliefs, whatever, just be true to yourself and who that is. I see so many brands that are like, here's our mission. And it's like, well, really, like why are you so inspired by that? And because it sounds good.
Yeah,
Like,
can I just add, I wanted to just piggyback on that. I think you're 100% right. And the reason it's so important is because people can also see through when you're full of you-know-what.
Absolutely. People, their incentives are up right now more than they ever have been. Rightfully so.
Yeah.
It should be.
Yeah, it has to be sustainable, doesn't it? And quite often, Danielle, I'd love to know the answer to this. Why do you think it is that people feel that they have to be everything to everyone? Is it FOMO, or is there some other reason why there's people out there building brands because of how they think the world wants to see them rather than how they want to actually be seen?
Well, a lot of times it's someone's first time going at it, and it's scary, and you're investing a lot of money, potentially all of your money, other people's money, your family's money. Like, once you've done it a few times, once you have a few like major successes behind you, I think it's a lot easier to just kind of be like, boom, here I am. Like, this is, but like, it is really, I think it's like, okay, well, okay, this is what we are. We're this, you know, I run into this with our agency. Like, we're not an Edelman. We're a boutique agency. We will always be a boutique agency because that aligns with who I am as a founder. Like, but there's definitely been times, because we attract such big corporate clients, that, you know, they want, like, we almost try to be that for them. And, you know, it only took that happening like a couple times to be like, wait, we need to be like super clear with that, and like be proud that we're a boutique agency of, you know, highly creative individuals. So it's just, I think it's that too, you know, it's not that you're trying to be someone else or you're maybe afraid of missing out. I think it's just, you're in it and you're in the middle of it, and you're not, that sometimes there's no time to just stop and be like, okay, well, are we that? And we're founders. So like, it's super easy for us to be like, yeah, of course we can do that. We say yes. We say yes to opportunity. So of course, like if someone's like, oh, here's this giant project, yeah, we can handle that. Like, of course we can. But learning to kind of step back, that's being true to your brand.
Yeah, brilliant. A lot of the time people talk about that as being your USP, the thing that's at the core of your brand. I'd like to throw a question over to Julie. What is a USP, and how can a company, as Danielle's talking about, take what comes from a founder and incorporate that into their brand?
Sure, I'm so glad you asked. So depending on who you ask, a USP could be unique selling proposition or unique selling point, you may have heard. They both mean the same thing. Essentially, a USP is what makes you different / better than your competition. And, you know, this is something we work on all the time with strategy sessions. I actually work in the advertising and marketing field, and getting somebody to drill down on that core thing to figure out, you know, what makes them different / better. And it's not even as simple as, you know, so many people like to say, for example, oh, we've got the best customer service out there. but do you? Is this really something that only you can say? I think so many other companies could say that as well. And so you have them drill down, you do all of these exercises, you know, and is it because maybe you have somebody answering the phones 24/7 and nobody else in your industry or nobody else in your town does that? That could be it, you know, but it could be, you know, something as simple as somebody's personality, or maybe you only work in a specific niche, you know, or a specific industry. What is that USP and how can you use it to stand out? We use it in our branding, we use it in all of our promotions. And that's what's going to make us stand out and be bold amongst our competitions and hopefully, you know, win more business than everybody else.
Yeah, I love it. That uniqueness is so important. But the interesting thing that I think that's already coming through from the panel today is that we have to be aware of the fact that it has to be real, it has to be authentic, and we have to be able to sustain it. People's BS radars are very high. We have to, as Julie's saying, not just say we do things, but actually do them. You have to follow through with these things. So I wonder whether, Laurel, you could share a little bit of your insight at the moment, because right now it's a really interesting time in marketing. What's the most surprising thing that you're seeing that's happening with COVID and the challenges with the global pandemic? The most surprising thing that you're noticing?
Thank you. I think the most surprising thing that we're noticing, and we're a marketing agency, but we're really a branding agency, which is that top of funnel visibility and awareness, how people are getting new eyeballs, excited people in to know their brand. And so the thing that we're seeing that is actually most exciting, and I hope that nobody who's watching today is doing, is not paying attention and not putting, doubling down on their digital spend, because we are now basically digital is the only channel. And, you know, we started our agency 12 years ago. Hopefully I don't look a day over 10, but, and we started it in 2009 when that economic downturn was happening. And what we saw then is very similar to what we're seeing today, which is the brands that stayed in it and really understood that their digital footprint was so critical and important. And not just the critical, important nature of it, but the fact that all these big brands are pulling their dollars out and they're doing what we are calling ostriching. So they're like sticking their head in the sand and pretending this is all going to go away. We all know that's not the case. But the ones that didn't do that and really stayed in it to win it and doubled down were the ones that were able to capture more eyeballs with lower spend. Because think about it, those brands are pulling out those dollars. Your cost per click is going to go down. Your eyeballs, your visibility and awareness is going to go up. It's like a no-brainer. So to me, that's the most surprising thing that we're seeing. And, you know, we've been very lucky to be successful and sustainable through this process. But certainly we've had clients that have fallen off the map, and I just like want to shake them and tell them, no, stay in it. This is the only way you're going to come out of this profitable in the long run. So I think that that's the most surprising thing that we're seeing, and why I think it's so important to bring it up on this conversation is so nobody who's paying attention right now does that. And that's really, I think, all of our jobs is to take people from that inner circle of fear to hopefully the circle of curiosity, like what could we be doing differently and better? And then eventually to the circle of opportunity, like how can we really get our audience excited and capture new market share?
I love it. It is so true. And we're getting a bit of Zoom fatigue. Here we are having to do a Zoom panel today. But you're so right, Laurel. It is so much that case of you can't just bury your head in the sand around this. We have to change, we have to adapt. And more importantly, we have to get thinking outside the box. How can we really resonate with people? Which leads me beautifully to my next question for Tonya, which is, one of the ways that people are differentiating their brands is doing exactly that, becoming thought leaders, you know, really changing people's attitudes and behaviors around things. But what can you do to establish yourself as a thought leader as a brand at the moment?
You know, there are a few different tactics, but I want to piggyback on what Laurel said first in regards to, you know, staying in it, right? Being consistent and knowing who your target market is. First, that's the first thing. Many people think, well, I have this great product, like Danielle was saying, I have this great product or this great company, and yes, we can do everything. We can please everybody. But the truth is we all have a target market, and then we kind of grow from there. And if we stay consistent and stay in it, like Laurel's saying, it will grow. And a lot of times that growth comes from, you know, it's authentic in third-party referrals, and that's the PR part of it. So when your brand is solid, people will tell other people about it. I always say marketing is me telling you how amazing I am. PR is other people telling other people how amazing you are. So you keep doing what you do best. And part of that leadership, thought leadership portion of that is continuing to think out of the box and come up with things that other people aren't doing and finding solutions and paths in a way in whatever niche you're working in that lead you to either solutions, whether it's I'm servicing a certain particular type of client or a market. Your uniqueness and your creativity is what helps you to stand out. And that's your thought leadership. So then you're finding different ways where you can contribute to articles, finding different ways where you can be in a speaking position or you can be the forefront of a particular movement to solve a problem. That's where your most profitability is going to come from. That's where people start saying, wow, I've never heard that before. So let me continue to follow her or follow this company because they're doing something a little different. That's a Nike, that's a Forbes, now Forbes women. And, you know, people come up with unique ways to show how they are different and how they lean towards solutions. And that is your thought leadership. It's staying in your lane, perfecting your craft, and coming up with ways that you are a solution and a help to people that other people have not yet, and continuing to speak on that. And it will grow. It will grow because other people will tell them how amazing you are, or this problem that you solved for them. So, you know, again, if we stay authentic, we really just nail down our niche and we continue to find new ways to be a solution to others, you've set yourself up for, you know, thought leadership, opportunities to get called on by others to come speak or come participate or come be a consultant, come be the expert at my company for this particular thing. It just doesn't stop as long as we continue to do things the right way in the branding space.
Love it. So awesome. Tonya, one of the things you mentioned, I think we can delve into as a panel, and I'm going to throw you all a question that we haven't prepared for. But I do agree 100% with what you're saying, is absolutely understanding who your audience is so that you can stay in your lane and resonate with every single thing that you do. And funny how often, Tonya, when you do that, when you niche down and you find that audience, to a lot of people, they're scared to do that because they feel like they're losing a market. They're saying, oh, but there's all these people I'm going to miss out on. But actually you end up coming up with way more creative ideas and really thinking unusually about that particular situation and the people that you're helping, that you end up really, really standing out. So I'm going to put a question to each of you, and it's the same question, but I'm wondering whether we can share with people today, what is your unique approach or your simple tip or action step towards how to define your target audience? So have a quick think. I'll just explain a little bit more on what we want out of this particular section. So there are lots and lots of different ways that I've come across in my years of being in branding that people talk about creating your target avatar. And I'm wondering whether we could talk about that very briefly today and get an idea from each of us that's a little bit different to help the audience understand the different ways that you can do it. Because I don't believe there's one set way to do this. I think there's lots of different ways. And I wonder whether we could come up with some really awesome ideas to help people, because I do find that most of the time people are saying, look, I know about social media and I know about my message and I know what I stand for. I just don't know who my audience is and I don't know how to reach them. I don't know how to resonate with them. So we're going to start with Laurel, who's going to hand up with her. She wants to jump in because then we'll all go, oh, damn, she's mentioned her idea and we can't. So Laurel, you kick it off and we'll go around and everyone have a crack at that one.
Thank you. Yeah, so we do a ton of this kind of work. And I think to Danielle's point earlier, usually a brand, unless it's some like deep tech company, is going to be a direct reflection of you as the founder. So when we do what we call our personification exercises or avatar exercises, whatever you'd like to call them, it's oftentimes really a direct reflection of that founder. So who they are, their age category, their education and background, and all of those things. And then of course you want to come up with secondary, tertiary, and possibly a fourth market. I think it's quadratory, I don't know. But the big takeaway is that I want people to understand that these are hypotheses, right? And it's important that you have these as a starting point. And then it's really critical that you test against those hypotheses via things both on the organic side, content organically, as well as on the paid side. And a combination of those two will show you whether who you believe those audiences are actually your true target market. Because you might have some recognition that, you know, you thought you were targeting the millennial generation, but actually Gen Z or, you know, an older demographic is actually the one who is relating most to your audience message or to your message, your brand message. So in terms of personification, I would go on a whiteboard and I would create 4 categories and columns and give it 1, 2, 3, 4. And then what we do is we try and give that person a real humanity. So give them a real name and give them not just the psychographic, not just the demographic information, but deeper. Like, what is the psychographic data? What are the reasons, the pain points that you solve that are the reasons why they would make a purchase or a hiring decision within your category? So it's about creating a really robust, rich, character-driven exercise for who you believe those markets are, and then of course testing them across the multitude of channels that you'd be executing on. That's how we do it.
Brilliant, love it. That's not left a lot for the rest of us, which is awesome. I love it. But, no, that's great.
That's why I wanted to go first. No, I'm just kidding.
Absolutely, get it in there. So what I love about that is the fact that you are so right. Often we can have it all planned out on paper. It looks great on a whiteboard, but when you go to market, you realise you've got these other people coming. I remember a story not that long ago. I met a guy who had created a product that you put on your hands to help you grip things, and he was marketing it for tennis players when they get really sweaty and hot and so on. And he ended up with an audience he'd never thought of, which was pole dancing. So, you know, he'd totally focused on the sports arena, and there was this whole other arena that loved his product, and they needed it. They had a need for it. So you can never, absolutely, Laurel, you can never second guess that stuff. And it's so great to have that, like, map it all out, but be prepared for the fact you might have an audience out there who will find you and you won't even know that they're there. So Tonya, you can go next. You've got your hand up. She's in there.
Yeah, I absolutely love what Laurel had to say. And it kind of, to piggyback on that, I have learned to use, okay, so follow me here. Right now, the very common term people use, identity politics, but I work off of identity branding, right? So what people don't know is identity politics or identity branding, it sounds like something that kind of divides people, right? But if you really look at it, identity is who you actually have something in common with, right? And understanding the culture of those people, just like Lauren was saying, what are these people thinking? How do they move? When you understand the culture of, let's say your target audience is moms, okay? Is it moms, rich moms? Is it middle-class moms? Is it, you know, moms in suburbia? Is it moms in the country? Or whoever your target market is, it's who are those people? Where do they reside? How do they make their buying decisions or their spending or even their time? Because sometimes we're just looking for people to invest time in what we have going on, right? So it's really about the culture of those people that you are trying to speak to and message to, and where you find them and where you connect with them and what that language looks like, right? Because if I'm trying to connect with a millennial, it's definitely going to be different than if I'm trying to connect with a seasoned individual and for products for them or services for them. So it just comes down to, for us, finding out what that culture is, whether it's through conversations or panels or surveys or whatever the case may be. I think the identity branding piece of it for us has proven to be very successful, just trying to understand and have conversations to find out what is the culture of your target audience.
Love it. Absolutely. And it's perfect to hand it over to, I know Julie's already got a hand up, but I was going to go to you anyway, because Tonya mentioned language, culture and language, and being the copywriter, I'm sure you're going to jump on that. But the nicest thing I liked about what you said, Tonya, was you're almost having to immerse yourself in their lives, in their, as Laurel said, not just their demographics and where they live, but their beliefs, their values, their mores, the things that they've grown up with, their culture. And it's so important that you become very immersive in your approach. To actually being able to put yourself in their shoes. So Julie, give us some tips on your thoughts around how to identify your ideal client.
Sure. Well, as you said, Laurel pretty much covered the gamut here between the psychographics and the demographics, which is fabulous. Thank you so much for setting that groundwork for us. You know, one thing that we always say is to go hang out where you feel your target audience is hanging out, you know, like in particular on social media. You know, if you find out that you're on Facebook and you're not getting people interacting with you, then maybe it's time to jump over to Instagram, or maybe you are on these different platforms. You know, where are you getting the most engagement and who is is it that's engaging with you? You know, I think just taking a step back and saying, okay, am I hitting who I actually want to hit, or who I think I'm hitting, you know, or in your case with the pole dancing, is it a completely different target audience? You know, when it comes to copy, yeah, you've got to talk their language. You got to speak their language. Absolutely. And, you know, and you can do that in your branding. You can do that in your promotions, in your social media posts. You know, it's very important, as you all said, you know, get inside their head, figure out who that person is, what their persona is, and hit on their pain points and how you can solve their problems. And I think that's going to be, you know, best shown throughout copy in how you promote yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've always heard from copywriters that if you can explain the problem to people even better than they can explain it themselves, you've got a connection with them, which is fantastic. So yeah, absolutely. I love this discussion around really fully immersing yourself in the way that people behave, the way that they feel, their influences and so on. I remember years ago when I worked at Saatchi & Saatchi, we would, again, had a number of brands come on board that were targeting the youth market. And our CEO went out and spent quite a bit of time with the youth market and came back to the agency with both nipples pierced at one stage, which was hilarious. But everybody realised that you can immerse yourself far too well into some of these cultures. So with that, we'll flick over to Danielle and really give us your thoughts and tips. If there's anything left after this incredible immersion that we've just had around choosing your target avatar.
Yeah, definitely. Well, isn't this such a beast of a project to try to do? Like, I recently did it and I've done it so many times, and it's literally like the most undesirable exercise ever, because it's like fun, and then you're all over the place, and then all of a sudden you're like, I don't even know what I do, who I serve, like, or that's what happens to me anyway. But what I did recently that I found very helpful was I kind of just took a step back, and I was like, all right, what brands do I just admire? Like, do I really I like them? Forget about if they're a target client or not. And it was like Bumble, Spanx, there's a few other ones too. And so then I went and I acted like an investigative journalist, you know, like I found out every piece of information about each one of those founders that I could find out, because what I always have a hard time doing is articulate. Let me back up. With my agency, it evolved so organically that I never really had a chance to say like, who is my target client, because we always have had business come into us. So it's never been something that I've been like, I intentionally am building out a vertical or whatnot. But it does, like, we do run into issues when we try to like outsource or go get marketing help, you know, like all of a sudden they're like, well, what's the answers to all these questions? And we're like, we don't know. It's all over the place. But after doing that exercise, so I laid that all out, I was able to identify that all the founders had in common that it wasn't their first business. They happened to be female founders, which wasn't intentional on my part. Like, I wasn't like, oh, I only want to work with, because every time I do that, then I'm like, oh, but I have all these clients over here. I love these brands. But anyways, they were female founders. They, at one point, tried to solve a social problem through entrepreneurship, even if they didn't realize it was entrepreneurship. They were also well-traveled, well-cultured. And I was able to identify like all of these things that they all had in common. And then I also realized like, these are things that I also have in common. So it's no wonder, like, you know, the reflection of who we are. But if I didn't do that exercise, I think all of these other ones are just so hard. It's so like, once you're like, okay, this is my, like if a client comes to us and we're creating pitches, like they already have that defined. So we know like to go on Facebook and capture that language and see who, you know, what their problems are. But getting to that point or like defining it has always been a pretty difficult exercise for me, because I get too analytical, and then, you know, then there's a lot of opinions and I'm like, oh, I don't even know, this is who I want to, you know, because we have this whole vertical of that just happened organically. Like celebrities come to us when they're launching products in particular, like, or a business, like that just happens to be like what they come to us first for. And that just happened on its own. But I'm not going to build out a whole vertical around that. Like that's not necessarily what inspires me in the same way that the characteristics of like that exercise I did, like that resonates with me and and my team too. So I don't know if that's exactly advice, but it's what I did and it worked. I thought it worked really well. So.
Absolutely. So it's so interesting, isn't it? Often we find that we are our own target avatar. It's a really interesting, and it is very hard to do it for yourself. We can all do it for our clients, no problem, but doing it for yourself is a completely different story. I love it, guys. What great tips.
One thing to add. Identifying for us that it wasn't their first business was so important, because with PR, it is so difficult. People have such bad experiences with PR, and we really pride ourselves on results. So it's so important for us, for our clients to feel great. To get them to that place is very difficult in general. And then if it's not their first venture, they think that PR is going to be what like gets the person to check out of the cart. And it's like, well, no, we can only bring more people here. Like that's another piece. I can't control like your landing page.
Do you mean PR isn't some magic wand that we can just wave and all of a sudden money appears? I've been misled all these years.
Exactly. So I feel like when it's not your first venture, you understand, you understand what happens throughout different processes and what to expect.
Yeah, absolutely. And managing those expectations is so vital. So, okay, awesome. Great stuff, ladies. I love it. One of the things that I do a lot to help us really identify our target avatar, and this is once we've really decided their demographics and psychographics, so we know who it is we're targeting, is to encourage you to go away and record a day in the life of your ideal client, from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to sleep, and actually verbally talk through their day, what they do, how they feel, when they most have the problem that you solve, what they say to themselves about it, who they go ask advice about, solving it, and so on, all the way through their day, so that then you can record that, get it transcribed, and then highlight what are the little key phrases that they use, or thought patterns, or things that they're doing that make you go, wow, that's a marketing campaign in itself. That's a headline. That's something we can use to really write a story around. So recording a day in the life of your ideal client is a great way to create extraordinarily great content that resonates and engages. So that's my little tip from what we do at the Audacious agency. What I like about the discussion so far, ladies, is that we've talked about things that are a little bit outside the box. And I wonder, I'm going to open up a question to Julie and then pass it on to everybody else on the panel, that, you know, we all know about the traditional ways of creating a brand and marketing and showcasing and promoting our businesses and so on. But what are some non-traditional things that you're starting to see happening, especially with, as Laurel said before, the changes that we've seen with everything being digital? What are the non-traditional things that we could be thinking about doing?
You know, I feel like the pandemic hit and so many people either lost their jobs or they've been furloughed or whatever. And even as we saw this trend as the gig economy was really growing and growing, now all of a sudden it's just exploded. And of course, I'm all for that, right? I'm all for, you know, the freelance society. However, you know, we now have all these people saying, oh no, I have to create my own brand and my own business, and they don't necessarily, you know where to start or how to do it. So, you know, honestly, you know, we get into it, you know, and building that brand, it's more than a logo, it's more than a tagline. There's so much more that goes into it. And how else can you find these non-traditional ways to incorporate your brand? If y'all notice, my wall is in my brand colors, my hair is in my brand colors. You know, there's a lot of different things you can do. It's not just your business card, it's not just your website, you know, but pull it all together in one cohesive fashion that looks like it goes together, whether that's by color or by language or whatever the case may be. It could be as simple as, what color is your notepad that you take to client meetings, or your cup that you carry with you, you know, that maybe it has your logo on it. You know, some people are now even, not that we're out and about as much as we used to be, but, you know, what about your license plate? You know, what about your license plate frame? What about a sticker or a decal that you can put on your laptop or on your vehicle? You know, just to get that added brand awareness out there. When it comes to digital, it's all about social right now. It's all about social. So you've got to have that persona, you've got to have that presence, and you've got to be consistent with it, you know, and make sure that your brand is coming through on anything and everything that you do. It's okay to add a little, in my opinion anyway. It's okay to add a little personal stuff every so often, just to add some, humanity to it, show people that you are human. At the end of the day, though, you've got to showcase your brand. I love that humanity aspect because I feel like it really brings that authenticity factor back in that we've all been talking about today on this panel. But yeah, think outside the box. What else can you do to showcase your brand? It could even be in the clothing that you wear. I see this all the time, and it doesn't have to be so bold or so in your face. I know not everybody may be as strong personalities as we are here, but maybe you go to an award show, right? And maybe instead of a big bright pink or bright purple dress or whatever the case may be, maybe it's just a simple pin in your color, a simple button, something that will make people remember you and keep you top of mind. So if and when they do need you in the future, they're going to remember to call you.
Absolutely, love it. And it's what the big brands have been doing for years, isn't it? They've been just constantly creating a brand message and seeing it everywhere. Merchandise, advertising, everything that they do. So Tonya, can you give us some ideas as well? I know I'm just, there's so many things you can be doing, but should you be doing all of them? What are some of the non-traditional things you're seeing that are working at the moment?
So that's actually a really good question. Is should you be doing everything that you see everyone else doing? No, of course not. It needs to be authentic to you. Everyone does not need a YouTube channel. However, with this moment that we are in, we are seeing a lot more collaborations, right? We're seeing a lot more individual brands. So people understanding how their personal brand is different than their business brand, and they can build them both out. I try to work with women too, to get them to understand that their personal brand can help them in ways, let's say they're not entrepreneurs, but they want to rise in the ranks in their company. What are some of the things that are authentic to them that can get them that promotion or move them to that next spot? And how do you use those attributes to be able to do that? That is a part of your brand. It's who you are. So when you were talking earlier, like, well, does it have to be bold? Well, if it's silent, they'll ignore you. So we have to figure out how to put a little volume on it, right? Put a little aggression on it. And you don't have to lose your femininity if you're a woman, but you do have to let them know, I'm serious about who I am. I'm serious about what I represent. And also, people are starting to recognize that goodwill is a part of your brand. There has to be something charitable and good about a brand. And if you don't have it, you need to find it. Then you have collaborations. People are starting to collaborate more and recognize that it doesn't have to be just all about me or just me. I can expand my brand if I'm working with other amazing people that are servicing the same target market or similar target markets. So I think collaborations and really understanding your personal brand. And also many people are starting to recognize that independent media outlets can be just as powerful as the big media outlets. So new independent outlets are coming out, whether that's in print, online, on video. They're being bold enough to start these opportunities that they can then build a platform for something maybe people didn't think about. So it's allowing people to be creative in a space that you are really good at, and they know that someone else could also use it. So that collaboration piece comes back in again. Great, I'm gonna build an independent media outlet. Who am I going to work with? Well, people that need this type of media outlet. Is it for minorities? Is it for minority women? Is it for all women? Is it for the LGBTQ community? You can do those types of things as long as you are consistent and you are servicing others and you have a little bit of goodwill in there, because people want to know what I'm contributing to or being a part of is doing something good and contributing to the betterment of our society.
Brilliant, love it. Collaboration is extraordinary, isn't it? And when it really takes off and you find that you have something so in common with somebody else that you can talk about the same message and reach a much wider audience together and create things. It's just, it is a nice part of what we're seeing. It's an upside, really, of what we're seeing that's happening with COVID, which is brilliant. So Laurel, what are you seeing that is so different? It's non-traditional, that's working in the marketplace for growing people's brands at the moment?
First of all, I want to let you guys know my license plate says Elevate, so I'm very proud of that. I was very excited to get it. So yes, Julie, I'm all about it. But we're seeing content and volume. I think it's not I wouldn't say it's non-traditional, but Tonya, I totally agree with you that not everyone has to have a YouTube channel. However, we do know that YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. So it would be advisable for consumer brands to play nice with that platform. So one of the things that we have done very successfully is it's like mass content, and it's done really effectively. If you guys go to my blog page, you can see we walk our own talk, and we actually will go into the office, we'll shoot 20 to 30 pieces of content. I'll do hair and makeup changes. We'll put a bold lip on, and I'll shoot as much content as possible. That then goes on to our YouTube channel, and the YouTube channel then gets the media players integrated into our blog page, and then we translate it into written content so that we're playing nice with both of the major search engines. And that's pre-ad spend. So we found that to be a highly effective methodology. And then of course, pushing those out on some more traditional methods like content aggregation platforms like the Outbrains and Taboos of the world, and of course social, then just kind of bolsters that conversation. But in terms of kind of more non-traditional, it's about volume of content as far as we're concerned in terms of what hasn't already been mentioned. But you guys have done a great job so far.
Love it. And I think that repurposing is so important, isn't it, Laurel? We're finding, I know with our clients, most of the time they're creating lots of content, but no one's seeing it. It's like these Wild West towns all over the websites because no one's there. Like me and my grandma have seen it. So the fact that you can create lots of content, but yeah, getting it onto different channels, making sure that you're focusing on the fact that not everybody wants to read. Some people want to watch and listen, and others just want to listen to an audio part of it. So targeting all those different ways of communicating and absorbing the media, but also making sure that it's not just hidden away somewhere on a blog and forgotten about, that you're getting out there and
100%.
reusing it. And
smart content is so critical. Like you
Smart
can't, it's not
content.
if you
I
build
like
it, they
that.
will come. It's not organic anymore. It doesn't exist. And I think a lot of brands, and I love what Danielle said about like publicity being like the be all end all. It's the same thing with content. It's the same thing with social. There is a methodology and a science behind it. And it has to be bolstered with sometimes advertorial along with the PR piece, sometimes ad spend along with the content side. So it has to be a holistic, thoughtful process.
Brilliant. Love it. So it's not about playing in one small pool well, it's about getting across multiple pools with great content that I love that idea, smart content. I think that's something that a lot of people can take out of today. So Danielle, what are you seeing in terms of PR that's really becoming a little bit non-traditional at the moment, and it's something that people are a little bit outside the box?
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is like super outside the box, but something that I feel like is pretty relevant that we're finding we're doing a lot with our clients is because of COVID, the big publications like Hearst, who owns like Cosmo, Glamour, all the big ones, they used to outsource their content production, their video production to production agencies. So they would have like partnerships, and a lot of those partnerships don't exist anymore, or like it's just not like feasible for people to be like coming into homes and filming or whatever. So we've been doing a lot with our clients where we're doing collaborations with the publications where we're creating the content or the client is creating the content. And I'm definitely talking about like video content. And then we're able to publish it on these sites. So that would be something that would normally cost like probably $50,000 and up, but where it's now more of a collaboration, that's something that I feel like it's not necessarily like a trend, but it's an opportunity if you are good with content and you know how to create like captivating videos and you have a strong message. Yeah, they're looking for content. And I know that like, I don't like when people say that to me, like these publications are looking for content, but they're looking for quality video content, I should say. And as long as it's not salesy, then yeah.
Yeah, can I add something to that? I think you're totally right. And to your point, now is the perfect time to be creating content because people aren't expecting it to be perfectly polished. Now is a great time to F it up and just do the worst and figure it out and figure out what works. So I expect everyone on this conversation, everyone listening in, go buy a ring light. And honestly, whenever people see my content, they're like, oh my God, it's so great and polished. This is spackle and lighting, and that's it. So you can all do this.
Absolutely. I love it. That is such a great message. And the nice thing is, the point being, you can all have great opinions, we can all have great beliefs and values, but if you're not telling the world about it, what is the point? So I wonder whether we can just go a little bit off topic before we get into the next question, because there's an awesome question I've got that's coming up, and it's going to be a little bit of a fireball, I think, with this particular panel, which is great. But what I want to know first is, again, the same way that a lot of people watching might have gone, well, that's all great, but I don't know how to choose a target avatar. Well, hopefully we've answered that one. This is great. That's awesome. You've now given me the inspiration and the motivation to go and start creating great content. Where do I get my content ideas from? So I want to open this up to the panel. What are some content creation ideas that we can be sharing with our audience? And no, Laurel, I'm not letting you go first this time.
Damn it.
You're gonna ruin it for everybody
Fine,
else.
I'll go back on you, whatever.
I'm going to start with Tonya, being the PR and publicity specialist. So some content creation ideas. If you're not creative, if you're not a copywriter like Julie, how can we come up with ideas to create content that actually is going to get some resonance? It's going to get people wanting to read it and listen to it and watch it.
I have 3 words: elevate, empower, and educate. If you can do any of those 3, it goes well. Most of the time, you're trying to get people to know, like, and trust you. So with those 3 things, how can you get people to know? Are you sharing something about yourself or your company? Are you educating them? Are you giving shareable content that empowers others? You know, one of the things I've noticed, especially now with COVID, is people want to be uplifted. They want to learn something. They want to share something with someone else. They need to have something to talk about. We're all stuck in a house, right? Most of our events have been canceled. So we're literally surviving on how we are sharing and connecting with others. So right now is that perfect time to either elevate, educate, or empower someone else. Right now, that's it. And what she was saying, what Laurel was saying, is perfect. Now is a good time for you to try. Maybe it's something you say, maybe it's a picture you share, and give some background on that. People want to feel connected to you, like they get to know you or your brand. But one of the things that I think is most important to understand is just keep it authentic also. People hate finding out that they got excited about something you made up. Like, that is just a no. So, you know, when we can keep it authentic and really shine on who we really are and what we have going on, that's what connects with other people. And more than anything else, as humans, we like to connect. So if we can use some of those elements, I think it goes well.
I love it. Elevate, educate, and empower. 3 major words that if anyone hasn't written those down already, they should be doing that. I love it, Tonya. And I love the fact that, again, what is the point of doing anything that isn't authentic? Because you have to sustain a brand. If you know, you have to constantly be out there, you know, speaking your truth. So how can you do that without being authentic to what it was in your core and what you believe? So,
you know, we are in this reality show world right now, and everybody thinks that they are worthy of a reality show. So they're going to show you whatever they think that can give them the clicks or the kudos, even if it doesn't belong to them, even if it's somewhere that they haven't actually been, but they put their picture in it. You know, people just want you to think something else of them. And what they don't recognize is, 1, eventually the truth comes out. And 2, you got to work really hard to maintain those stories. Like, you got to have one heck of a creative mind to keep that growing, because you can't just let it go. Like, oh, I was in San Tropez, but now I'm in the hood every weekend. Like, how do you do that? Like, that's not a real thing. So you have to be consistent. It's a story. It grows. It's your life. It's the company. If you're doing big things, you can't then turn around and just have, you know, these very bland pictures. She said, get a ring and use it, and your pictures are amazing. And then you start showing up with these bland pictures that no one clicks and likes. Come on, consistency is going to win every time in branding and PR, because that truth, that story that connects and resonates with others, that's what's going to win, not the facade that many people put up to try to keep up with the Joneses, or, you know, be seen as something that they're not. Reality TV ain't for everybody. I try to keep telling people.
Yeah, absolutely. And someone has to take over from the Kardashians now that they've eventually finished. So, you know, we're all here. So I love it. And the thing is, as you say, Tonya, it's a lot of hard work and effort that goes into building a brand. So to ruin it with a lie, where all of a sudden you end up being all over the press for the wrong reasons, what's the point? It's just too hard. So Julie,